What's up everyone, here is AhkTaar and welcome back on my YouTube channel. In this video we are gonna talk about the 3 new heroes coming this Friday on the Miracle Wishes, so let's go. For the first time, we have this quick information about the 2 new legendary heroes coming this Friday. So the first one, we have Marville and then we have Andras. So let's talk about them quickly and then let's jump into their skills. So Marville is a support hero, mainly build designed for PvP. She can add on your heroes a block removal buff, which is it's unique and pretty interesting, but maybe broken. We are gonna talk about that later. Then she can heal your heroes based on the hits they are taking by enemies. She can continuously almost launch the basic attack and increase the duration of debuffs on a single target using the basic attack, which is pretty nice. She can apply Consolidation 2 on your heroes, but you need exclusives. She can reduce the skill damage taken, but you need exclusives. And she can reduce the cooldowns of all your skills, but you need exclusives. We are going to talk about that. So then, let's talk about Andras. He is a main burn damage dealer for your team, and he is really interesting because he has some mechanic to increase his own damage over time if you are playing other burn damage with detonation, and he can apply deep burn too, but you need exclusives. But it is gonna be really interesting because deep burn 2 increases by 50% the damage you are gonna deal with burns on enemies. Burn ignore the defense, and it can deal a huge amount of burst damage. We are gonna talk about that. So that was all for the quick view of the heroes. Now let's talk about the first one. This is Marville, a new hero from the Hidden Wave. This is a support with the blue mark. So, on the basic attack, she deals some damage to a single enemy and she refreshes the duration of all attribute debuffs. Talking about that, it's a great hero. Having that on the basic attack is so great. Today, we have no hero able to refresh the duration of attribute debuffs, and it is great. It is even better for dungeons because imagine using a set, for example, who can inflict some wet and cold on the boss. Imagine having an attack down, a speed down. Using her, you are gonna continuously refresh the duration of the attribute debuff. So it's pretty insane, in fact, really strong on a basic attack. And there is a chance to act 1 extra turn after casting the basic attack, and you can trigger this effect continuously. So maybe if you have like a 20% chance to do it, you can do it continuously, but in fact it is not that great because using only one time this effect on a boss, I mean, it's interesting, but you are gonna lose turns doing that because she's not gonna deal a lot of damage on the basic attack. But on a PvP content, for example, if you increase the duration of the debuffs on one enemy, then you can maybe, if you get an extra turn, do it on another one. So it's interesting for a PvP purpose. First active skill, she restores all allies HP, cleanses 5 layers of dots and all attribute debuff from all allies and grants them 1 layer of block removal. Every time enemies are gonna try to strip your buffs, to remove your buffs, it is gonna consume 1 layer of block removal, and you can have up to 3 layers of this buff on your heroes. So I am not sure right now. I asked to know if you have, for example, 3 buffs on one hero. If you attempt to remove all the buffs at once using only one skill, if it is gonna proc 1 layer of block removal for each buff, or is it gonna consume only 1 for 1 skill used? I don't know about that. So I think that it's 1 layer removed for each buff, but it's not written. Otherwise, it's gonna be really interesting, really strong. So we are gonna have to wait and see. On the passive, grants all allies 2 layers of fish shoal at the beginning of each wave. Every time your heroes are gonna take direct damage, if they have a fish shoal, it's gonna consume 1 layer and heal your allies. And this is pretty nice because at the beginning of your allies' turn, it's gonna restore all the fish shoal, and this is pretty great because every turn you're gonna self-heal, passively heal your heroes, and I like that a lot. Then finally, the ultimate restores all allies fish shoal to the layer cap and and restores their HP percentage to the same as the ally with the most HP percentage. This is one of the best healing skill in the game. You have that only on Alahan. Basically, if one of your hero he has 80% HP, for example, and all your other heroes are almost at 10%, everybody in your team will have instantly 80% HP on them, and this it can be the best healing effect in the game, but also it can be the worst one if you are using it when your heroes have already 100% HP or 80% HP. Yeah, if everybody has the same amount of HP in your team, everybody has 10% HP, for example, then nobody is gonna get a heal. So be careful when you want to use this kind of effect. So without exclusives, she is great for the HP restoration mechanic and for the basic attack to reset the duration of attribute debuffs on a single target. It can be great against the boss, so I really love that. And also for the block removal, it's pretty interesting for a PvP purpose. Then let's have a look to the exclusives. The first one reduces the cooldown of all skills by 1 turn for all allies who have at least 1 layer of fish shoal before using the ultimate. In fact, it's interesting but clearly not broken, because you can have 2 layers of fish shoal and imagine taking some damage. This is what is gonna happen. You are gonna use her. Every hero in your team is gonna have a fish shoal on them. You're gonna take 2 attacks, 2 AoE attacks, for example, and then you won't be able to use that because you will already lost. You will lost your layers of fish shoal. So I'm not sure how to use that. In fact, maybe it can be really interesting at the beginning of the wave for PvP or PvE if you are using your main heroes, all your heroes before her, so you will still have your fish shoal on her and then use her at the end of the turn. After all your other heroes. So if you cast this skill right after your other heroes played, then you are gonna reset the cooldowns of their skills, and then it is gonna be really interesting. Even for PvE, it is gonna be great. But outside of that, if you are trying to use that in PvP after the first turn, it's gonna be really hard to get benefit from the cooldown reduction. But it's a pretty strong one. Level 2 increases the layer cap of fish shoal to 3 and reduces the skill damage taken by 10% for all allies who have fish shoal. Pretty interesting. Taking 10% less skill damage is really important for PvP and also for PvE, so it's pretty interesting, and having the cap to 3 is pretty nice, so that means you can take an extra attack on your heroes. But I don't know if multiple stages of damage are gonna trigger one or multiple fish shoal on your heroes. I think it's gonna be only one attack, not every stages, otherwise this fish shoal is gonna be useless for PvP. So it's a great one too. And the level 3, she is gonna grant all allies consolidation 2 for 2 turns and refreshes the duration of all buffs. This is massive. This is clearly massive. Imagine, first of all, for the faction Abyss, she is the only hero in this faction to provide a consolidation. But you need exclusive 3, so you need a lot of investments on her. Then resetting the duration of all buffs is so powerful, it is so great. And these two things are on this first active skill, so normally you have a 3 turns cooldown on it. Cleans dots, attribute debuffs, block removal, consolidation 2, and refreshes the duration of all buffs. She is great, really great, a perfect support. I love her. She's gonna be pretty useful. So let's talk about the next one, Andras. So it's a legendary hero from the Doom faction, an attacker with the green mark. On the basic attack, he deals attack to a single enemy with a chance to inflict 1 layer of burn for 2 turns. It's great to have a burner hero able to apply a burn on the basic attack, because you want to play them with Ben Austin, and if you are doing so, then you need to use Eric. In every burn team, you have to use Eric in priority over Barry, because they are a bit different. For example, Eric, when he launch a bomb, it is considered as a pursuit, so he is using the basic attack, and using the basic attack he can apply another burn and deal an extra detonation. Detonation are one of the best burst damage in the game, so it's gonna be really efficient if you're using Eric with him, because you're gonna see the potential of his skill. Barry, in comparison, is great because he can do almost the same as Eric, but the difference is that Barry isn't gonna do a pursuit. He is gonna use some bullets in his gun to deal extra direct damage, so it's not the same. This is why I recommend to build Eric over Barry in a burn team. So, second skill deals 3 stages of attack damage to all enemies and inflicts a burn damage. This attack ignores immortal, damage immunity, and shield. This is really interesting to have that on one hero. He has an AoE attack, and probably it is gonna deal a lot of damage because it's inflicting burn damage, so it is gonna scale over your attack and mastery, which is pretty nice in fact, and ignores an immortal, damage immunity, and shield. This is gonna be great for PvP, I think. It's the first active skill, so normally a 3 turns cooldown. I hope that the coefficient of damage is gonna be great, so maybe for PvP he's gonna be really interesting. Then let's talk about his passive. Every time one hero in your team is gonna deal some detonation damage, and I think that it can work with him if he deals also detonation damage, because it's not written that it is excluding himself, and then he's gonna get a blast of flame on him. He can cap to 40 layers of black flame, and every layer increases his own attack, which is gonna be really nice. Because if you're using Eric, for example, you are gonna deal a lot of detonation damage in a row, and so you are gonna get his max potential pretty fast during a fight. Also, if you are using Catherine and Ben Austin, it's gonna be great. So he looks pretty interesting for that. And also it's written that Blast Flame is not gonna be removed if he dies or at wave transition, and so it's even better because you can boost him on the first waves and have his max potential on the boss wave. And having a look to his ultimate, probably he is gonna deal insane amounts of damage to a single target and so to bosses. Because he deals 4 stages of attack damage to a single enemy and inflicts burn damage on each stage of damage. The third stage of damage is gonna deal more burn damage. The damage are gonna be tripled on the first stage and considered as detonation damage, and this is pretty insane because detonation damage are crazy in this game. 300% of your attack ignoring the defense. Trust me, if you haven't tested already, it's one of the best source of damage in the game. It is gonna be really insane. Using him plus Eric and Ben Austin Catherine, I'm pretty sure that it is gonna be a solid team. Especially if you can have the new hero from the Elemental City, but it is another subject. So without exclusive, he has a great potential, I think. So let's talk about his first exclusive. He has a 100% chance to inflict a deep burn 1 on the targets for 2 turns using the first active skill in AoE. So If the target has a higher amount of HP than Andras, he inflicts Deep Burn 2 instead for 2 turns. Deep Burn 1 increases the damage received by 25%, and Deep Burn 2 by 50%. Imagine having 50% more burn damage on all enemies using also Eric or Anna, for example, because she can also increase your attack. It's gonna be so powerful. I really want to try that. Level 2 increases burn damage dealt by Andras. So great, because burn, as I said, is a great source of damage, and here he's gonna increase his own burn damage, and also increases direct damage and dot dealt when Andras attacks target with red and force mark. And it is even better, in fact, because in the majority of heroes in the game force mark, I mean bosses or force mark. In PvP, you have Nicholas, it's a force mark hero. You have Brynhild, it's a red one. Lucia, red one. You have Catherine, it's a red one. You have Lucifer, who is a red one also. So probably it is gonna be really interesting. And reduces the direct damage and dot taken when Andras is attacked by targets with red and force marks. So he is a DPS and he's gonna be more tanky against bosses and in PvP. So it is pretty nice. And the third exclusive is something like exclusive 3 on need roll, I would say. He's gonna deal 7 stages of damage on the ultimate instead of 4. So even more damage to single target. I think this hero is gonna be a boss killer, especially if you are using another burn hero. Pretty interesting in my opinion. So now let's talk about the last one. It's Mackin, the epic new hero from the Hidden Wave, an attacker with the red mark. And he seems pretty interesting for an epic hero, damage dealer. Let's have a look to his kit. So on the basic attack, he has 2 different ones. The first one, he deals 1 attack to 1 enemy, and he deals extra bleed damage depending on the number of bleeds the target has. The second one is 3 stages of attack damage to a single enemy instead of 1, and with the same damage increase depending on the amount of bleed the target has. In order to use the second skill here, you have to use the first active skill. It increases his own attack for 2 turns. I don't know yet. Maybe it's gonna be a 20% or maybe a 40%. If it's 20%, it's okay. If it's a 40%, then he is gonna be even better. Then he is gonna get an extra turn and gain 1 layer of Scorpion Stinger for 1 turn. And when he has this buff, he can use this second part of the first basic attack. So this is how it works. You have to cast the first active skill and then use the basic attack. On his passive, he has some chance to inflict a bleed for each stage of attack he's gonna do on the target. And this is great, because imagine you are doing 3 stages of attack here with the basic attack. Depending on the chance you are gonna have to place the bleed on the target, you can place up to 3 bleeds using a basic attack. So maybe in average it's gonna be 2 bleeds every time. It's pretty interesting for an epic hero. And finally on the ultimate, he is gonna increase his own bleed damage. And when, you have to use this hero with another one of this faction. Another one who can enter the Way of Ocean status, because every time one of your hero is gonna enter this status, Mackin will also enter the same status for 1 turn, and he's gonna deal insane bleed damage if he is in Way of Ocean form. 150% more bleed damage of the original bleed damage dealt. So probably using him and maybe Ikina, for example, it is gonna be great, because you are gonna have a huge amount of direct damage on bosses thanks to Ikina, and with him you are gonna deal a lot of bleed damage. So maybe for a guild boss, he is gonna be a solution to deal a heavy amount of damage. Pretty interesting. Let's talk about the exclusives now. The first one, Stinger Attack, deals 50% of the original damage to 2 random enemies. Stinger Attack is the basic attack here. Pretty interesting, but it's not gonna work sadly on the second one. Maybe, but I don't think, because it's not written Lightning Stinger, but Stinger Attack. I don't know why, to be honest. Level 2 increases self-turn meter and restores self HP based on self-maxed HP when he kills an enemy, and when he kills an enemy he also reduces the cooldown of his first active skill here, which is pretty interesting. So he can play more often, he can self-heal, and he can reuse this first active skill, get an extra turn, and stay almost forever on this Scorpion Stinger thing and cast this skill instead of the other, so it's pretty interesting, I think. Finally, the last exclusive, it's the first active skill, deals the highest bleed damage directly. No, it's here. Casting that, you're gonna deal the highest bleed damage. You're not gonna need to have a lot of bleed layers on enemies, which is pretty interesting. And also, for an epic hero, you can refresh the duration of all bleed effects on the target after dealing the damage. And this is so great because it's a basic attack on an epic hero. Imagine having that against the boss, for example. For an epic hero, you will always have 10 bleeds on the boss. This looks pretty insane. Tell me what you think about that in a comment below. If I have to do a resume of the video, all the heroes in here are gonna be really interesting. This one, Marville, is gonna be a great support with a unique mechanic here to refresh the duration of attribute debuffs on enemies, to increase the duration of all your buffs on your heroes, apply consolidation 2, passively heal your heroes, reduce the damage skill damage taken by your heroes, block the buff removal for PvP, cleans attribute debuffs, dots, etc. She is one of the best support for PvP, I think, and a great one for PvE. Then this one is one of the best burner hero in the game. Personally, I think this is gonna be the highest single target burn damage dealer in the game, but you have to play him with at least a second burn hero in order to get his max potential here. And finally, the last one, Mackin here, is maybe the best bleeder epic hero solution we have in the game so far. She can reset the duration of bleeds on enemies, deal a lot of bleed damage to single target enemies. Maybe it's gonna be a great damage dealer epic hero. So that was all for the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think about that in the comment below. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe, and then see you in the next one. Bye bye.